Hi, my name is Addison Gustovich, and this is my self-improvement presentation. So some of the hardest battles that we face as individuals actually don't happen externally, they happen internally, or they're self-inflicted. So Albert Ellis talks about some of these different internal struggles that a lot of people struggle with, and then provides us with some different tips and techniques that can be used to help alleviate some of the stress and negative feelings that come along with these internal struggles. So the self-help book that I decided to read throughout the semester was Overcoming Destructive Beliefs, Feelings, and Behaviors by Albert Ellis. So I chose this book because it personally connects to my weakness, which is self-destructive beliefs. And this book offers different techniques and tips that I could use to help strengthen this weakness that I have. So this book actually connects to chapter 3 within our text, which is Perception of Self and Others. So, which it connects with Ellis's ideas of self-esteem and self-awareness. So today I will discuss perfectionism more specifically, and I'll talk about the different tips and techniques that Ellis offers, or Ellis talks about throughout his text to help alleviate some of the anxiety that most individuals feel because of these internal struggles. So first I'm going to discuss turning demands into preferences, then I'm going to go on to talk about building a frustration tolerance, and then again I will go in and talk about unconditional self-acceptance, and then finally in the end I will talk about how I use those 3 techniques in my day-to-day life to help change my or help strengthen my weakness that I had at the beginning of the semester. So now that I've introduced the book, I'm going to start talking about the first technique. So the first technique again is turning demands into preferences. So perfectionists often used or often have irrational demands, so such as I must get an A on this paper, or I am worthless, or I must be first place in this race, or I am a horrible failure. So Ellis states, start quote, the idea that one should be thoroughly competent, adequate, intelligent, and achieving in all possible respects instead of accepting oneself as a quite imperfect creature, end quote. So he challenges individuals by asking for evidence of their must. So he wants evidence on what says that you must get an A on this paper, or you must come in first place in the race. So, and then he challenges them to replace the demands with preferences, like I want to do well, but if I don't, it's okay. I don't have to be perfect. So these demands create like unrealistic expectations, which cause anxiety, procrastination, and self-criticism. So which is, all of those are very harmful to one's mental health. So when perfectionists shift their language to more positive affirmations, so changing it from saying must to prefer, it reduces that unrealistic expectation and creates healthier motivation. So along with changing demands to preferences, perfectionists also must build frustration tolerance. So Ellis believes that perfectionists cannot stand to make mistakes, or they cannot stand criticism. So anything short of perfection feels unacceptable, which creates panic and just unrealistic expectations. So he teaches people to say, quote, I don't like this, but I can tolerate it, quote. So this reduces overreactions to mistakes and criticism, and opens up the idea of imperfection, that it's okay to make mistakes, it's okay to be imperfect. So Ellis also encourages practicing small amounts of mistakes or receiving small amounts of criticism over time. So these manageable experience strengthens frustration tolerance over time. So in addition to frustration tolerance, he goes in to talk about unconditional self-acceptance. So perfectionists also often tie their worth to performance. So what that means is if they don't do well in a specified area, so if they don't get an A on a paper, that's how they feel about their self-worth. So they feel negatively, or their self-worth is negative, if that makes sense. So they feel worthless. Rather than recognizing that all humans are imperfect, they feel that because they hold themselves to these unrealistic expectations and they hold themselves to those standards, they feel very negatively about themselves. So Ellis teaches people that unconditional self-acceptance means worth is not determined by success. So it allows people to say, quote, I accept myself because I'm human, not because I am perfect, end quote. So this reduces comparison, guilt, and then fear of judgment. So after learning these techniques, I applied them to my life to help strengthen my weakness of self-destructive beliefs. So I caught myself saying a lot throughout the semester, I have to do well, or I must do well. So when I caught myself saying that, I would change it and I would say, I prefer to do well, but if I don't, it's okay, which did actually reduce some of the anxiety and guilt that I felt throughout the semester. So increased frustration tolerance. So I did this by reminding myself that criticism and feedback is necessary to improve in whatever aspect, because no one is perfect. There's always room for improvement. So the hardest technique that I struggled with was the unconditional self-acceptance. I struggled with fully accepting my mistakes, which it could have been through school, work, motherhood, just fully accepting my mistakes and understanding that making mistakes is okay. Like, it's okay to not be perfect. So even though it was difficult, I recognized the importance in reducing unrealistic expectations and understanding that perfectionism isn't possible. As humans, we are imperfect creatures. It is not possible to be perfect. So in conclusion, Ellis explains that stress often comes from within ourselves instead of externally, because we hold ourselves to unrealistic standards that other people want to hold us to. So in Overcoming Destructive Beliefs, Feelings, and Behaviors by Albert Ellis, he provides different techniques of turning demands into preferences, building a frustration tolerance, and unconditional self-acceptance. These are just 3 of the techniques that I decided to talk about. He actually talks about probably 10 to 15 different techniques throughout the book, but those are the 3 that I felt were most important that I was able to incorporate into my day-to-day life. So he teaches that perfectionism is not required to be worthy. So in the end, accepting myself and my imperfections has helped lift the pressure, caused me to stop overthinking, and just help alleviate some of the stress that I carry on my shoulders every day. Overall, I really enjoyed this self-help book, and I feel like it's a really good book for people who have that self-destructive belief, especially when it comes to perfectionism, because I feel like his chapter on perfectionism went into great detail and did provide some great techniques and tips that people could use to help, again, alleviate some of the stress that they feel. Thank you.